So we want to welcome all the people that are watching online and part of the Positive Living Spiritual Center. So I want to talk about the subject that was coming to me, and it might go way off the subject, but who knows what will come from this moment, is living from the overflow. So that was the title of the theme for this month. And when I say living from the overflow, what's the first thing that pops into your mind about what that might mean for you? Anybody?
Cup runneth over.
Cup runneth over.
Abundance.
What's that, Michael?
Abundance.
Abundance. Dan?
Yes,
Same. Okay. Anybody else? Living from the overflow.
Love.
Love. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? What it means exactly for each one of us, and how do we do that? How do we live from the overflow? So that's what we're going to talk about. There's something I put on Facebook the last few days that really has been sitting with me very strongly over these last few weeks and making this journey to Los Angeles. And that is, and also going through my own journey, but speaking to a lot of people that are going through a big time. And as you heard from the ritual we did earlier, you know, this time on the planet is quite an amazing time of transformation, transmutation, letting go of things that don't serve us anymore. Sometimes that means relationships, sometimes that means jobs, sometimes that means the house we live in, sometimes it means the country we live in. And it's scary, isn't it? You know, to really step out of something that is unknown is scary. Because the truth is, we like comfort, don't we? How many of us like comfort? We like to know that we've got a roof over our head, that we've got the comfort, and sometimes, you know, we like to feel, okay, this might not be 100%, but it's comfortable. So the thing that struck me over especially the last few days, is, and I'll just have a look at it. And this is, I really feel like this is a practice we're all being called to go deeper with, right? And this practice is to be okay with whatever's happening for ourselves. And I know you've heard me talk about this before, but to actually take it deeper, to be okay with whatever might be happening right now, even if it's not what we want, even if it's like we're waiting for the stuff to happen but it hasn't quite happened yet, and maybe we're in a job or a position we know isn't right for us, but the other stuff hasn't manifested yet. So what if we could really be okay, accepting of, content with whatever might be happening? How do you think that might help our creating more of an overflow, of living life from that overflow? How would that help by being content with where we're at? What would that do? Vibrationally, do you think? Anybody?
Bring more good things.
Pardon?
Bring more
good things.
What we want into
Right.
our life.
Because why? Why would it start to open things up if we're accepting where we are?
Because the resistance falls away.
Because the resistance falls away. Because we create so much resistance in going against what's happening. As Esther Hicks says, you know, going upstream instead of downstream, right? In that resistance, and that affects the overflow. That affects things bubbling up, feeling more joy, feeling healthier, having more peace. Because the resistance is stopping that other stuff. Does that make sense? Can't explain, but the voice in my head's been, this is so important, Laurie. Like, this is really an important piece in this journey for all of us. For all of us. It's really about how do we find peace within ourselves in whatever is happening. That's the question, you know, for ourselves to ask, how do I find more peace? How do I create more peace in me in this moment? Because from that, more things are going to open up. The next thing, you're going to hear something you may have not heard, a message that you may not have heard because there was resistance, because we were fighting against it. Does that make sense? Is that an easy thing to practice? No. No, but who said this journey was easy? It just takes us deeper. We're constantly being asked now. I really feel like this time on the planet we're being asked now to just keep getting out of our own way. To open ourselves up to one, being okay with what is, and two, to allowing more to come in. And what stops the allowing is what? So what stops the flow? Anybody? What stops the flow for you in your life?
Fear.
Fear. Yeah. Well, what is resistance? It's really fear, isn't it? I mean, fear kind of encompasses everything, doesn't it?
It can be doubt too.
Doubt, yeah, it's all in the same package, isn't it? Doubt, fear, worry, resistance. It's kind of all in the same package, wouldn't you say? You know what's the saying? There's two emotions, fear or love. Everything kind of falls into the fear package that isn't love. So it's an interesting one. I like when we come together to have things to think about, to have things to chew on, to have things to contemplate. And this is certainly one of those. Because it's a thing we can keep asking ourselves, okay, so what am I resisting in this moment? What good am I resisting? How can I accept more of what is? How can I accept more of what's taking place in my life? And that doesn't mean you're going, okay, I'm giving up on going for the best. It's not that. It's just that as we're okay with what is, we allow more in. We open this vibration in us. We open this place in us to allow more in. And that's the piece I'm getting more and more, this understanding of that principle. So just take a breath. Breathe that in somewhere in there. Let it kind of germinate in there, inside of you. So I put here, the irony is that once we can fully accept where we are, we allow things to flow much easier, which is what I just said. And living from the overflow means that we allow things to be and let go of the need to struggle. To be in that resistance means to struggle. And it's an irony because struggle is sometimes necessary for us to grow. You heard the story about the cocoon, right? You know, how many of you know that story about the cocoon? Do you want to hear it? I love this story because it's a metaphor for life. Right? So this man finds this cocoon of this I think it was a monarch butterfly, this beautiful butterfly, and he sees that this cocoon, this butterfly is having trouble emerging from the cocoon, and it's struggling to get through. So he doesn't like seeing this, and he wants to make it easier for this butterfly to emerge from this cocoon. So he gets his scissors and he opens up, makes a hole so that this butterfly can emerge from this cocoon. And it emerges, but it can't fly because it's all swollen, because it needed that struggle in order to get the fluid out, in order to be able to fly. So struggle is necessary, but we have to look at also, in that moment of struggle, can we be okay with the struggle? Can we be okay with what is? And can we let that go so we can allow more in? Does that make sense? Did I kind of... So, to me, and I don't even want to say struggle, but life is about learning, isn't it? And it's about growth. And especially the spiritual journey is about learning. And if everything came really easy for us, we might not appreciate things as much. So that's one part of it. But the other part of it is allowing ourselves to be okay with whatever is, and allowing ourselves to be open for something even better to come in. So that's what I'm trying to say. I feel like I've kind of said a few different things. So the interesting thing is that I wrote here, what gets in the way of our abundant flow? Does anybody else get in the way? Does other people stop that flow for you?
No,
No, who does?
we do.
So it's really becoming more aware of how we stop ourselves, of what we do inside of ourselves, and what we can do to create more peace. Because for me, if there's more peace inside, then things are going to flow more easily. We're going to have a greater understanding of what's going on for ourselves. Isn't that true? I was just at Agape, and one of the things that came up at the spiritual center there, Michael Beckwith actually wasn't speaking, there was another speaker, but what really came for me there that I wanted to share with you was asking the right questions. What questions do we ask ourselves? So if we're going through a time of money not coming in, or work not coming in, or things happening, what are the questions that we're asking ourselves? So the question's going to make a big difference in creating more flow. So do you know what I mean by that? So what happens sometimes when things aren't flowing the way we want, what questions do we ask? Why is this happening? How come I'm not doing this? I'm doing all the right things, and how come it's not coming in? Do we do that sometimes? I do. So is that a question that's going to lift you? Is that a question that's going to create something higher and greater for yourself? So what's a question you might be able to ask yourself instead? Anybody have an idea? What would be a positive question, an uplifting question you could ask yourself to contemplate, to take that consciousness to another level?
What do I need to let go of?
Yeah? What do I need to let go of?
What is the value in this?
Yeah. Yeah. And what can I embrace more now? You know? So questions that get your mind to go up higher rather than go into struggle. That bring your consciousness higher. So it's an interesting thing to just say, okay, so whatever questions I'm asking myself, are these questions supporting me fully? Are these questions helping me to grow? Are these questions helping me to get to a greater understanding? And if not, what can I ask? What questions are? If you don't have the idea of the question, if it's not coming to you consciously, then you can sit with, what would be the best question I can ask that's going to take me higher, that's going to help support me, right? And then that question will come. That information will come. So I thought this was really valuable, because we don't always think about what question are we asking ourselves that just gets us stuck in, it doesn't necessarily bring us out of what's going on. So if we ask the right question, and we open up to that right question coming in, it can really help us shift to another place. So which questions empower? So you want to have questions for yourself that empower you. So I put down here, if you're wanting more money and financial abundance, you can ask to help expand. What could you ask to help expand your consciousness? So it might be asking the question. Yeah, go ahead, Pia.
Money comes easily and frequently.
So you can go into an affirmation, you know, to open that up. You can go into a question and affirmation, whatever's going to help open that place up, instead of shutting it down. So all of these things help us to create more of an overflow, to allow things to flow into our life. Because that's really our birthright, isn't it? You know, I was looking at nature and being in nature this weekend, and how beautiful nature is, isn't it? Like, it flows. Do you ever go in nature and go, it's not flowing? Like, there's no flow here. You know, everything flows beautifully. The ocean, if you just go up to the mountains and sit, everything is just in perfect flow. Because nature's not stopping it. Nature's allowing it to happen. So that's the thing to ask ourselves. How can we allow more flow? That might be a good question to ask, yeah? And that flow can be with your health. It could be financially. It could be in any way. It could be having, how do I have more peace? How can I create that stillness and that place of peace within me? So I want to read from Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks. If you make your relationship with your inner being your top priority, and you deliberately choose thoughts that allow your alignment, you will consistently offer the greatest advantage to the others with whom you interact. Only when you are aligned with your source do you have anything to offer others. So this is all about that overflow and creating that place inside of ourselves so we can then overflow that to others. It's like we can't give to others if our cup's not full. We can give, but we're just depleting ourselves, and we're not giving the best of ourselves. So the question is, how do I, every day, create that more flow? Right? So that I can share that, not only in my life, but with others. Because every single one of us affects the whole, doesn't it? Like, we're not separate from the whole. Every single one of us, our thoughts create and affect the whole. Each other, the planet, everything. Every thought is a vibration. So the more we can become aware of that, and I know we all are in this room and listening, because that's the spiritual journey, is becoming aware of what we're thinking. Okay, so what are the steps we need to take to live from the overflow? You ready? And you can add your own to this list. And if you want, I'll put these on, send them to you, put them on Facebook so you can see what they are. So, having a daily spiritual practice, right, allows that opening. So that might be meditation, prayer. What else? Give me some other, what other spiritual practices do you guys do in here? Yoga. Surfing. Swimming in the ocean. Anybody else besides Dan?
Walking in nature.
Walking in nature. How many of you listen to beautiful music and that helps you? Listen to talks, listen to uplifting messages. So having a daily spiritual practice so you can connect to that still small voice. Doing that practice that we did in the beginning, that practicing the presence, where you just stop for a minute, 2 minutes. Close your eyes and breathe and connect. And when you exhale, let go. When you inhale, allow that presence, allow that light, allow that love, allow that grace to just wash over you. When you don't know what to do, turn it over. You know, we tend to keep hitting our heads against the wall. So when we don't know what to do, just ask for that divine support. It's there. It's there. It's always there. This next one is for me, really, really important as well. And forgive yourself. We're not always going to do the right things, what we think are the right things. So keep forgiving yourself on a daily basis. Oh, I should have done that. Why did I say that to that person? And we tend to beat ourselves up. So forgiving ourselves and letting that go. Making peace every day with ourselves. Before we go to bed, when we get up in the morning, making peace with ourselves. Finding that place of peace every day. Become more aware of your energy and when it's being affected by outside influences, by your own thoughts, and letting go of resistance every day. How can I let go? I'm finding I'm resisting this. What do I need to do to let go of this? That's one of the great questions we can ask. How do I let go of this? And just sit still. The answer will come. You probably already know it. Those answers are always there. We just have to be willing to put the right channel on. Tune into that channel so we can hear that. And if we're in fear, we're not going to hear it. We don't have the right channel. And this one, be patient with yourself. How many, and I'm like the first one, it's interesting, as a Kundalini yoga teacher, we were able to years ago, and you still can, to ask what your spiritual name is. This is when Yogi Bhajan, who brought Kundalini yoga to the West, gave you your name himself. Now he's passed on. So this was years and years ago, probably almost 30 years ago, and I asked what my name was, and I got my name, and I'm going, huh? And the spiritual meaning of my name, the practice of what I'm here for, was to be more patient and content. And that's what I have come here to master, because I was never patient as a child. I still work with that one every day, and being content with what is. So this is my spiritual practice. So being patient with ourselves. Become aware of judgments and let those go. Judgments about yourself, of anybody else. Because that gets in the way of the flow, of being healthy, of being happy, of allowing the flow. And be more compassionate. So how can you be more compassionate to yourself and to other people? And then every day, as I just said before, ask Spirit, use me. Let me be a vessel. Show me what I need to do. And then be open. So that's every single day, that's my mantra. Use me. Let me be of service. Because by doing that, we get out of our own way and we open up even more. When I started finding out about the Nepal Orphans Home years ago, and I started supporting, and then, because I run the center started supporting, and I got people involved, and this has changed my life probably more than anything. It has added to my life in ways that I can't put into words, about being of service greater to humanity. And we do it in whatever way we're called for. So all these steps help us in creating greater flow, in being from that place of overflow, living from the overflow. Does anyone have any others to add? That you'd add to that list?
Yeah. See only the best in people.
See only the best in people. Dan said to me something very wise, which was pretty much that the other day. He said to me, we tend to sometimes hold ourselves and hold people close to us in an old way, and then they can't change because we're holding them in that picture. So Dan said to me, just see the best in him, in yourself, and see that in each other. And we started doing that, and it really shifted things. So that's a wonderful thing to add to your list. If you're having a struggle with someone or you're having difficulty, see the best in that person. Hold them in that way. You'll change and they'll change. Hold someone in light. If you're having a difficult time with somebody, see them filled with light. See them surrounded with love. We can do that to countries in trouble right now, Africa. We can just hold this highest. That's what we can do as a community, as individuals. And the difference it makes is huge, isn't it? Thank you, Dan. Anybody else want to add to that list?
Really acceptance of who we are and where we're at, and the lessons we're learning, even if they're painful. It's acceptance.
Yeah. So accepting where we're at, accepting what is really important. And that's kind of all of what I've been saying. So thank you. Curtis?
One thing that helps me is, I don't know if this fits, but I believe without doubt that everything works out for the best. And so when I'm not feeling it, I know it.
Yeah. So take a breath. Breathe all this in. All that we said, all that was said, breathe it inside of you. Feel the changes already happening. Feel the resistance being released, being lifted. Feel that place inside of you of peace getting bigger, of acceptance getting bigger. And I'm going to finish with something from Yogi Bhajan, my teacher, the man that taught Kundalini Yoga. And this was what he gave, the message he gave for this time, this Aquarian age. So I'm just going to read it to you and take it in. So recognize that the other person is you, that there is a way through every block, that when the time is on you, start, the pressure will be off. Understand through compassion, understand through compassion or you will misunderstand the times. So come from compassion in everything. In every relationship, in every contact with another person, come, and with yourself, come from compassion. And the last one is vibrate the cosmos. The cosmos shall clear the path. Thank you. Now we have a perfect song. Dan's going to sing Let It Be.
I read the other day that Paul McCartney wrote this song. He had a dream that he was going through a tough time, and his deceased mother came to him in a dream and told him to let it be. And that's how this song came about.